Aloha！最近有一股熱潮席捲美國內陸，甚至連香港都受到影響啊！聽講呢個熱潮係嚟自夏威夷，叫做 Poke Bowl。Poke Bowl 係一種夏威夷嘅美食，概念好似魚生飯，將魚生切塊，再撈埋醬汁，然後配上米飯，好味飽肚，感覺上又健康。就連平時唔食魚生嘅我咧，嚟到夏威夷都中意咗 Poke Bowl 啊！今日就等我帶大家踏上呢個 Poke Bowl 之旅，跟我嚟啦！
今日我哋好開心可以揾到夏威夷名廚 Alan Wong 同埋 Paina Cafe 嘅店主 Derek 去同我哋傾下 Poke Bowl。
Do you know like some history of Poke and Poke Bowl? Like
You know,
back in the old days?
as long as I can remember, like back into the 70s, you know, there's poke just has always been a part of our culture in Hawaii. It's definitely, I think, grown over time, especially in the last decade. You know?
One misconception is that if you're from Hawaii, you're Hawaiian. That's not true. 2/3 of the local population in Hawaii, they're either Japanese, Chinese, or Filipino. And so when you say local food, it's kind of Asian by a natural way, an organic way from a long time ago. The Portuguese came, the Puerto Ricans came, the Japanese, the Okinawans, the Koreans, and then the Filipinos. They bring their culture, they bring their food. So what kind of food did the Chinese bring? The Japanese, the Koreans, the Filipinos, the Portuguese, right? That's how Hawaii became a very, very diverse and very eclectic East-West kind of international food scene. Then you had the Hawaiians, so we talk about poke now, okay? So if you understand that, we can talk about poke before Captain Cook arrived. Pre-Captain Cook. Poke is different from post-Captain Cook. We didn't have tomatoes, we didn't have onions, we didn't have green onions. And pre-iron. Before pre-iron, we had no knives. They cut with bone, they cut with rock. And so they had a big impact on how the Hawaiians ate at that time. The Hawaiians ate a lot of raw things from the ocean because the ocean was like a refrigerator. They go fishing, they eat it, and most times it was raw. Poke or some creative salad. And the other way they ate a lot was in the imu, in the ground. Sometimes they would take fish and put it in the ground too. And we were cooking this underground imu and steam. So you also have to imagine that today we eat poke, it's yellowfin ahi tuna, right? Now this fish comes from 100 pounds to like 175 pounds. It did not come close to shore. The earliest poke was eaten from raw reef fish, things that you could catch right close to shore. So imagine this to be a reef fish. In fact, this is moi. It's a very highly prized reef fish. Okay. So now, like the earliest form of poke, they used to just easily just do this. They score it to the bone. Okay. Now pre-iron, this was rock or bone.
Yeah.
Okay, very simple. And then this is Hawaiian salt made from seawater from Kauai, Hanapa'a. They've just put the salt right inside. Now it's going to take about 15 to 30 minutes for the salt to melt. Okay?
Is there like how many salt should we put, or just fill them?
All depends on what you. Now this is a big fish. Normally it would be like this, yeah?
That's me.
And so normally you would take and hack it in half. Then, after the salt melts, they would just gnaw on the meat. Sometimes they even used to eat it with the unclean. So the reef fish, it eats seaweed.
Yeah.
So you can kind of tell, if you know where certain seaweed grows, where this fish was caught from.
Really, like depends on the seaweed
inside,
so you can.
In the old days, yeah.
But not now, right?
Not now.
Yeah, in the old
Okay.
days.
So this was the earliest form of poke. So you see these squares or diamonds. You know, poke is also literally cubes, and people cut the cubes in different sizes. So this is a form of pre-Captain Cook poke, just seasoning simply. This is all they had. They had seaweed.
Seaweed.
But now it's like more flavors, like spicy ahi. And
Yes.
then even
Now you can
wasabi.
season it whatever way you want.
Yeah.
You can make Korean poke, Chinese
Yeah.
poke,
Like kimchi.
yeah,
Kimchi
uh-huh.
one.
Japanese poke. This was back in the day.
Yeah.
Simple like this.
Simple like this.
Over time, it's evolved so much. Now, if you go into a market today, there's so many different varieties of poke you can get. Back a long time ago, there were only limited styles. Your basic ingredient was Hawaiian salt. Like salt just flavored a lot of the fish before, and it's just evolved. And you look at today how popular spicy ahi poke is.
Yeah, that's
there was
my
no such thing as that back in the days. It was just cutting up fresh ahi, seasoning it, using your onions and just kukui nut and Hawaiian salt. And it was more of a really the roots of kind of where it started from. People probably have not really started eating poke bowls until like 2007, 2008. Prior to that, it was just something you would bring home, share with the family, share with friends. It was more an appetizer kind of dish. It was not your meal. Yeah. And one of the reasons we started the poke bowl, it's growing up that would be like my leftover meal. Like whatever we had leftover from the night before, I would just have rice on the side and I would start eating it.
What's your opinion on this popular trend of eating poke?
I think just being right now currently based in Hawaii, we see so much tourists, whether it's from Asia or the U.S. mainland coming in, and we're kind of amazed how much of them are actually eating poke bowls. And just kind of thinking back of how popular sushi has become worldwide. I think sushi has exposed so many people around the world to eating raw fish, and that just plays right into, poke from Hawaii. You have raw cubes of fish. The main difference is we're seasoning our cubes of fish. It's a different type of flavor we're gonna bring than sushi. But it's
Like
really,
giant sushi.
it's basically a poke bowl is like a deconstructed sushi roll in a sense, right? And it's really trending up the West Coast area. I think the West Coast was probably the first place to really get popular on it. Yes.
People like poke now. It's becoming one of the biggest national trends in the United States.
Yeah, that's true.
I think they're just discovering it. I think people perceive it to be healthy because it's fresh fish. The key to poke is the freshness of the fish. You have to have very, very fresh fish. And if not, then it might not be good for you.
The most important element will always be the quality of your fish.
Yeah.
If you start with a decent quality fish, you can enhance the flavors and make it taste really good. If you start with something that's poor quality, it is very hard to make it taste good. That's probably the biggest
It's hard
difference.
to use the sauce to cover up, right?
Right, and you don't really want to use sauces to
Yeah,
cover up
that's
and mask
true.
flavors. Good quality ahi, it has a good flavor on its own, and we're just enhancing it. We're not trying to. The
Yeah.
goal is not to cover up something
that's
bad.
But because it's very fresh and it's not cooked, like fried or sauteed in oil or what have you, I think people perceive it to be clean, fresh, and healthy.
Healthy.
So I think that's a big part of the trend.
Yeah.
When you add creativity to the poke, when you add different kinds of sauces and make it this way, that way, it becomes more interesting. And so that's another reason why poke has become a big trend today.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
true.
It's a quick meal, it's a fast meal, it's nutritious and it fills you up and it's tasty. And so why not?
Yeah.
You can make poke out of any fish, any fresh fish.
But is it goes the best with ahi or just like any kind is fine?
Well, I recommend you start with ahi,
Ahi.
but then you try all these different kinds of fish. This is moi, a Pacific threadfin fish. This is excellent sashimi. Anything that you would eat in a sushi bar, anything that you would eat as sashimi, you should try as poke. You'll get different textures, different flavors, different fat content, and you'll be very, very pleasantly surprised as to how many different kinds of fish you can make poke with and really enjoy it, even with the same recipe.
recommendation of like poke restaurant here in Oahu? I know like the Allen's Wong restaurant is definitely like the good one. Maybe as a traveler, if I want to like try some good poke bowl, so where should I go?
A lot of the markets and farmers markets have good poke, but any Japanese restaurant that serves sashimi
Yeah.
or sushi, I would buy poke from there. A Hawaiian restaurant that serves poke, I would trust that too.